Okay, so the last thing I guess for us to talk about is that final fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Oh, where do I start with this?
It was too dark.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Not in terms of like themes. I'm saying like in
Yeah,
terms of like
how it's lit.
how it's lit.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. And like,
The joke is you're looking like a DC film out here.
yeah, yeah.
Luckily, there
Even
was
though,
actually some people that were actually able to fix the color correction of that fight, and they were able to post it on YouTube and just to show what it would have looked like with better lighting. And actually, doesn't look that bad. But the problem is, Obi-Wan and Vader went to a dark ass planet in the middle of nighttime just so that they can have their brawl out.
yeah. Speaking of that, speaking of edits, I because I'm sure people would want us to mention this if we watched it. Did you see the editors the editor's cut of Obi-Wan where they cut it down to like a two hour-ish movie?
I've heard about it. I don't know where to find it. Is it on YouTube?
Um, I think if you look up Obi-Wan, I forget which channel did it, but I'm sure like they have a link to it so you can watch it because you can't watch it on YouTube obviously.
Oh
But
damn. Okay.
but like yeah, somebody I forgot who did it, but I'm sure if you look up Obi-Wan like editor's cut or something like that, I'm sure you'll find like a video where they send you a link to it. I forget what channel did it, but I watched it for people that you know what I'm talking about. I did watch it, and yeah, it flows a lot better. Like this definitely shows that it should have been a movie. They cut out all the fluff. They structured things a little bit more coherently. Um, and
Is it
yeah,
the Patterson cut?
yes,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
I haven't seen it, but I'll take a look at it at some point.
yeah, it definitely does flow better. But man, getting back to the fight. Yeah, you're right. It is lit very dark. It's like they're using natural lighting, and they're having the lightsabers be the source of light for their fight. Which I understand conceptual wise. I understand why they wanted to experiment with that. In theory, that's kind of interesting because they're trying to do a similar thing of what they did with the Force Awakens when Rey and Finn were fighting Kylo Ren in the forest, and like the biggest source of light was their lightsabers. However, it was still better lit because of the moonlight effect. You know, it, so it's like it wasn't like completely pitch black and all you saw was their lightsabers. Um, on top of that, um, yeah, the camera work is not that interesting in this fight. It's really not.
That's another problem that I have with it is that and since I went to film school, I can actually bash this film with all.
Yeah, we went to film schools.
Like the basic filming tropes, like camera work, not
Yep.
good.
It's not good. Now, it doesn't suffer from the quick cuts and close up problems that
That you would
like,
normally see from recent like superhero projects that you would see, or even like some of the Star Wars projects.
right.
It's not like that.
No, it's just like the shots just feel lazy. It just they don't do. It doesn't feel. It makes the pacing of the fight feel slow. I would say.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as like the tension doesn't feel as urgent as it should be, and like this should be the height of tension because it's Obi-Wan and Vader fighting again. Like that, there should feel adrenaline pumping. Now, am I expecting the same type of intensity with Anakin and Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith? No, I'm not. But as far as, and I'm sure like what they were trying to do was bridge the gap between the high choreography from the prequels and the more emotionally driven fights of the original trilogy. I feel like they're probably trying to bridge the gap there and not have it be too quick paced, but not too slow either. So I don't know what they were trying to do with that. But like I said, the environment is just so dull in that fight. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like there are some cool stuff happening in that fight. They're using their force powers and stuff like that, and like there was that one part where Vader was throwing a bunch of boulders at him and like almost buried him and stuff like that. So like there's some cool stuff happening there, but it's just like it's not as exciting as I was hoping for it to be. Um, definitely felt pales in comparison to their fight in Revenge of the Sith. But as I said, I'm not expecting it to be as as amazingly choreographed as that fight. But just like if you're not going to give us like the high octane action from that, at least have us be driven emotionally with that fight. And for the most part, they did. But after that fight, I was just asking to myself, did I need that? Do I feel fulfilled after that?
Hmm.
No. And it kind of, I'll be honest, that fight was already kind of ruined for me before we even got there because we already had a physical confrontation with them in the episode 3. We already had a physical confrontation with them already when Vader put him in the fire and stuff like that. So like
which was even more terrifying.
Yeah.
Than anything that they ever did in the final fight.
Right. And so like the gravitas of that final fight was already ruined because they already faced each other.
Yeah.
Now, what I thought would have been better is if so I think it would have been better if they didn't even fight until the last episode. They didn't get into a physical confrontation at all.
They could have they could have moments where they would like have like stare downs would be being like a weird term for it, but like they would have moments like
verbal
like connections, like verbal confrontations between the two. Like, where have you been all these years? Like, why were you never there to like protect me and stuff like that? You can have that stuff, and you can even mention that in your final fight as well. But like,
you could even still have the scene with Vader putting him in the fire, but just
in the final, without them like not in the final episode, like in episode 3, just like have Vader only push Obi-Wan into the fire and sort of like lure him there just to have Obi-Wan feel Vader's pain instead of them like lightsaber fighting their way over there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I'll try to meet people halfway because I'm sure viewers watching the show would want more action with the lightsaber fights. So I'm gonna try and meet them halfway. For one thing, you kind of already have some lightsaber action because you had the flashbacks with Obi-Wan and Anakin in the prequel era. So in the Attack of the Clones era, whatever, you already kind of have that already. So this is where they need to utilize the Inquisitors more. So if they want to have more lightsaber action to keep the viewers, if they need to have Obi-Wan get in a lightsaber fight, you need to have the Inquisitors be the startup battle for him. Be like a test drive for Obi-Wan because he hasn't used a lightsaber in 10 years. So he's going to be very rusty at first. So have it be where Obi-Wan faces the Inquisitors first and him trying to get the hang of using a lightsaber again. And then that in turn will make the Inquisitors look more physically imposing because Obi-Wan is weaker. And so we treat them, we take them more seriously as, imposing threats. And so by the time we get to the fight with Vader, he'll be more accustomed to him using a lightsaber and stuff like that. And so the fight will feel a little bit more earned at that point. So that's probably how I would have done it.
Yeah, I can see that. I think another way that they could have done it is, in episode 3, you could have a lightsaber fight there, but you would have Reva fighting Obi-Wan there. You would have Reva simply pushing Obi-Wan over to where Vader is,
Mm-hmm.
You know, Vader would say, you know, step away, you know, Obi-Wan is mine. You know, that's when he would lift him up and, you know, ignite the fire. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
would be as simple as just, you know, having that change, as opposed to having to see Obi-Wan be shown as like just this guy that is just running away from everything.
Exactly.
You know, like, you know, there are moments where, you know, there he would like stumble upon an Inquisitor and they would end up catching up to him and they would want to brawl.
Yep.
You know, so have Reva be more of a opposing threat to Obi-Wan, or just as an opposing threat, just to be able to confront Obi-Wan and to actually put up a winning fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, make her threatening. You know, make her, you know, just there's no other way to put it. You know, just make her intimidating, make her threatening.
Yeah. Simple as that. So yeah, that's probably how I would have done it. Like if, because they should already know that we're already going to be apprehensive about Vader and Obi-Wan fighting again. Like they should have savored that moment for, you know, for that one finale to make it feel more special. I would say, and they could find other ways to still have exciting action in there.